See, these big rocks have been put into like a circle. This could possibly have been the Snallygaster's nest, where it placed this circle here and laid its egg right there. Stories of the Snallygaster have been around for centuries, really. If you go back to like the Native Americans in the area, in the Middletown Valley, South Mountain, Frederick County area, they talked of a beast that lived in these woods, that hunted them, hunted their livestock, hunted all kinds of stuff. So they had a fear of this creature that they weren't calling it the Snallygaster. That came later when the German immigrants came. And one family, Frederick Lauber, came to Frederick County. He was one of the first, and he came over from Germany. And over in Germany, they had superstitions of creatures like the Snallygaster. They called them Schnallgeist, which was a quick spirit. But you see, he was not so much a man of superstition. He was a gunsmith. He was a craftsman, and he didn't really have that fear. His wife, however, was more of a superstitious woman, and they came with their children, and he came over in this area in the Middletown Valley and cleared some land, built a cabin, was gonna, start, making guns for the locals in the areas. And this was in the 1700s. And he was doing his thing, and one night, as he was about doing what he does, he heard like a flapping noise. He heard the flapping. He got out of his like smithery or whatever, and he looked up in the sky as night, and the moon, there was a shadow blocking out the light of the moon. And he's like, well, that's strange. And as he looked, it was a creature, and it was larger than an eagle, larger than anything he had seen before. And he's like, what is this? And the creature let out a roar, like this is like whistling roar. And he was like, oh my gosh, this is Schnallgeist. And he ran to the cabin where his wife and children were, and he opened up a thing and got them to go underneath it and said, stay here. The Schnallgeist is here. And his wife obviously was frantic and freaking out. And so he grabbed his rifle and he loaded it because he was going to protect his family because, well, he's a man and that's what they did back then. So loaded his gun and was like, boom! And hit the Schnallgeist in the wing, and it screeched and crashed to the ground. But it wasn't done. It was up and roaring. And he was trying to reload, but he saw the creature on the ground coming towards his cabin, and he knew, oh crap, this is not a good situation. So he remembered back to the stories that he had heard as he was a youth, and he remembered that these creatures, iron could fight these things off. So he grabbed a couple iron tongs that he used to shape bullets and do work, and he went out and was like, I'm gonna defend my family. And he ran out and he swung that iron thing and just cracked against the creature's face, and it screeched and it scratched at him, and he dodged it, and he just kept going. He was not gonna give up. He was not gonna let the Schnallgeist get his family. So as he fought it, eventually the creature, just the wound of its wing was just bleeding, and the beating it was getting from the iron that cracked on its beak, it fled the area and got its way away from it. Now, the size that he says that it was in the story is, it must have been an adolescent, so a young Snallygaster, because if it was full grown, he would have probably been killed as well as his family. But the creature fled, got away, and the next morning he was out there and he found some neighbors, and they had talked about what had happened, and they realized we have to do something. So they erected like iron around their buildings and stars made of iron to ward off the Snallygaster, because they knew it was out there. They didn't know when it would return, and they didn't know it was going to be bigger, there was more of them. But for a few years, they kept it at bay. They would hear the roar in the night. They would hear the noises. They would hear the creaking in the woods. They would hear branches falling. Animals would be gone, and occasionally a hiker or a friend went missing. But Frederick kept his family safe. And that's one of the older stories of an incident with a Snallygaster. And it's not, obviously, the last one.